Well, joining us to discuss the reintegration of 300,000 repentant Boko Haram members into the society and other security matters is Group Captain Sadiq Shehu. He's a retired security slash safety consultant. Thanks for joining us, Sadiq.
Thank you very much.
Before we go into the reintegration, I mean, the story I just read a while ago of a security operative stealing ammunition to sell to bandits that were supposed to use for what do you make of that?
Well, it's very unfortunate that people that are entrusted with the protection of lives and property, again, conniving to carry some of these things. But I must say, this is just one of those things. Every organization is made of human beings. You have the good ones and you have the bad ones. I think for every, I don't know, we don't know his security agency, whether military, whether police, whether it could be any of them. What I'm saying is that it's just one of these things that is one up. A conscientious, professional, well-trained and disciplined security officer will not be privy to the selling of arms to people that are bandits who are going to use, not only on innocent citizens, even including himself and his colleagues. So it is very unfortunate. But what does that tell us? In the military, I will talk specifically of the military. There are ways that you account for ammunition. If you are given 20 rounds, and you come back, if there is any incident which required you to fire your rounds, if possible, in fact, before you leave the area, you are supposed to look for the blank shells and bring it. As I was given 15, I have used 5, now I have 10 returning. That's how it is supposed to be. But I think the tempo of operation now, I want to believe that some security agencies are not carrying out this kind of diligence. That, for example, it is normal in these days to find that somebody is given a rifle and then the rifle stays with him for over 15 years without him going, for several months, without going back to the armory to return the rifle for repair and also to turn his ammunition. For every outing, you are supposed to go back, and make that declaration. These are some of the ways that will stop somebody from pilfering. But with due respect, I don't think all the security agencies are doing that. And that is how, because if the procedure is followed, it is very difficult to catch somebody with 217 ammunition, like the report said. So I think, yes, what happens is that we should go back to basics. There is a way, even if you are given ammunition, you count it. And whenever there is any, if you are supposed to write a report of how many you have expended, how many is reporting. I think we should go back to the basics of doing that.
Go back to the basics of doing that. Well, let's get into what we want to discuss. What's your sense of this? Many people have complained about it, especially those who are affected by the activities of these insurgents, Boko Haram, ISWAP, and the rest of them, reintegrating them into society. They are called repentant Boko Haram.
Well, when you say the reintegration, you neglect the other 3 or 4 elements. This is called DDDR. The first D is disarmament. What disarmament? It means you drop your weapon. The second D is demobilization. That is breaking up the terrorist group. The third one, which is the, I can see the one that is causing a lot of problems, is the radicalization. What does the radicalization? It means to reduce the extremist beliefs, in the person's head, and then finally reintegration, bring them back to the society. Now, in as much as possible that we may have problem with the radicalization, but I want people to understand, I've heard of this, a lot of complaints from Nigerians from this, but we have to understand that even in war, in civilized war, there are laws of armed conflict. It is law of armed conflict that paves way for this radicalization, which sometimes is called amnesty. What does the law say? The Geneva Convention, Additional Protocol 2, Article 65, talks about non-international armed conflict. What is non-international armed conflict? That is where the fight is between the country and its citizens, like we're having there, which is different from international armed conflict, like we're having, for example, between Ukraine and Russia. To end international armed conflict is very easy. At the end of it, how many Russians are in Ukraine prison? Give us our prisoners. You take your prisoners. Everybody goes back to his country. That is the end of the war. You sign a document and that is the end. But unfortunately, for a non-international armed conflict, it is more difficult to finish. The ideal, from the soldier's point of view, is to arrive at a situation in a certain day where we'll say all Boko Harams have been killed. But that is not likely to happen. So if not all of them are killed, if some have surrendered, if some have been injured and you captured them, what do you do with them? unlike international armed conflict, there is no country that will say, leave the country and go back there. Even if you say take them to prison, Governor Zulum is talking about 300,000. Supposing you carry these people to prison, do you know what the cost is going to be? And for how long? Are you going to give them life sentence? That is even assuming you are able to prove their guilt in court, because the court is an independent. The court will not just take them blanket. So it is a practical way of ending a non-international armed conflict that Geneva Conventions, Article 6.5 of the Additional Protocol 2 says, and here I'm quoting almost verbatim, at the end of hostilities, the government in power should endeavor to declare as wide amnesty as possible for the fighters that remain. What does it mean? As a professional soldier, once somebody surrenders, honest, you cannot shoot him.
Yeah, you can.
Once somebody is injured, POW, it is called in French, hors de guerre. As long as he is injured and he can no longer take part in hostilities, again, as a professional soldier, you cannot line him up. So you have a problem for any Boko Haram man that you didn't kill in actual battle. And again, like I said, you can't tell them to go to Cameroon or tell them to leave this. So this is a way out. But I understand there are apprehensions about this radicalization. Even experts, there is no expert that will tell you he's 100% sure that if somebody is radicalized, he will never go back. Nobody can give you that certainty.
That's a danger.
But it is, yes, but it is a window on how to end the conflict.
Yeah.
But at the same time, let me. It said at the end, so to minimize the risk, it says the amnesty should be declared at the end of hostilities. This is where I'm talking. This is my own personal opinion. I have a problem. Could we say we have come to the end of hostilities?
We have not.
Good. The second caveat is that the amnesty is not blanket, even where international humanitarian law. It says amnesty for those that have not committed serious crime like rape, like arson, like killing people.
Yeah.
So there needs to be a real category. I heard the governor again saying that some of them are farmers. Good. If you have that process of actually segregating the people, because we know, even from this, some were taken as small boys and taken into the bush. Some were women that were abducted. Then there are the real Boko Haram who went and entered on their own, who are commanders and the rest. So there should be, so these are the two conditions that probably we need to check. The timing of the de-radicalization and also the screening.
Yeah, whether it was done well and, like you said, how are we sure that these people will not go back to their old trade? And are they doing it well? You know, but I had a security expert here yesterday who said the security architecture of this nation needs to be restructured. And a lawmaker just said the other day, I think his name is Bassi, he said that there should be, what did he call it? He said, redesigning the security architecture. Are they the same thing? What do you buy into this restructuring? What would that even entail? And how will it change, or how will it change the narrative of this insecurity that seems to be cropping up again, particularly in Benue and Plateau states?
Yes, changing security architecture, reforming security architecture is all a matter of semantics. What we are saying, the structure of security in Nigeria is not designed for purpose. And I want people to understand, when you say the security structure, you are not talking only the sharp end of the equipment. You are not talking only about the soldiers, the policemen, the intelligence officers. No, you are even talking about the oversight agencies. The oversight agencies include the president himself. It includes the ministers in the respective ministries, whether Ministry of Defense. It also includes the legislature, who have powers over this. All this in need rebasing. The issue of security sector reform has been advocated for a long time, since during Obasanjo, if I remember, since the return. It's only Obasanjo that actually tried to do some reforms, and that one went halfway. If you remember, when some Americans were brought to do that's what even led to the leaving of service of former Chief of Army Staff, late General Malu. Okay. Since after Obasanjo, every government that comes, they will talk about security sector reform, but never do it. The last government of Buhari, it set up two committees. With due respect, I was privileged to serve on the committee. The reports were there, but none of them were implemented. But what we are seeing, when we say security sector reform, like I said, it's not just the actual men fighting. Because like now, if you want to be really honest, who is actually oversighting military in Nigeria? Is it the minister? I doubt if he has any powers to oversight the military. Is it the president? The president is busy because the president is not only president of military, he is president of health, he is president of agriculture, so nobody is doing. Is it the legislators? They are not doing it. Either due to lack of capacity or they don't really know their power. So what happens is that the oversight of the military, what do they buy? How do they use the budget? There's somebody who needs to be telling
procurement,
them.
accountability.
Everything. They will bring their request, but at the executive level, at the legislative level, they should have the wherewithal, the capacity to actually check. Why do you say Tucano? Why not Alpha Jet? You get the point? We do not have people with that kind of mindset now. So whatever is brought, that's whatever passes. And in the end, you may end up spending a lot of money.
And achieving nothing.
And then you will not achieve much.
Before I let you go, Sadiq, yes. Do you think, that the government, both at the state and the federal level, are bereft of ideas as to how to handle this? Or they are overwhelmed, or they are not really serious about human lives?
In the clip that you just played, I had, in the last part of the prayers by Governor Zulum, he said they should increase manpower and equipment. I have said this in other channels. I said even a Kekena Pep driver, he knows that the military is overstretched. And we'll be shouting this overstretched for more than 10 years. What is overstretched? It means you have few soldiers on the ground. You have few policemen. So if you bring them here today, they chase Boko Haram out, there will be another action somewhere, they will move. Boko Haram will come back there. So we continue going back and forth. So if you have been shouting overstretched, almost every debate, ask me, I'm sure most of the experts you bring here, they talk overstretched. Yeah. If you call the military overstretched. So is overstretched something we cannot solve? The last time I checked the Global Power Index, they said Nigeria has about 90 million, citizens of military age. Even as a private individual, almost every year, I think I don't have less than 50 young men telling me they want to enter the military. So for a country that has 90 million potential soldiers and policemen, we should not be talking overstretch. The overstretch is just to recruit, and we are not recruiting. Because again, here I differ a little with some other people. They will say we don't need boots on the ground. What we need is technology. Each one has its importance. I will give you an example. Why do people run from Zamfara and leave their farms? It's because once they see Boko Haram or bandits and the soldiers run or they are chased away or the soldiers are not there, they will not run away. You cannot go and tell that farmer to stay that I have technology. What he wants to see is a policeman.
Boots on ground.
Boots on the ground. That's what will give him confidence to stop running away. And as long as farmers run, as long as people run, the government has not won. The terrorist or the bandit or whatever you call him has not won. So you will wonder, this issue of overstretch is not something that cannot be solved. What is baffling me is the lack of political will to really recruit. In the manifesto of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, there's a requirement of this. But I must say it's not before him. Even during Buhari, we didn't have any of this. And when we go back to history, when the civil war broke out, within 1 year, the strength of the Nigerian military was quadrupled 4 times. So I don't see reason why we cannot do that. And as long as there are no boots on the ground, and as long as there is no security sector reform, because right now, security reform is very necessary. You have to even decide how many soldiers do you need. Nobody is doing that.
Security reform is very important on boots on ground. We just hope that those who are in charge are listening and will take action, because insecurity is cropping up its head again.
It is, unfortunately.
More and more. Captain Sadiq Shehu, retired as security safety consultant. Thank you for being on this.